Hey guys, we're going to get to the show in just a minute. But for right now, I want to talk to you about one of our sponsors. Sometimes when you're driving on the road, you start hearing that thudding going on, maybe that oil change light comes on, you think, oh shit, what am I going to do? That's when you should reach out to Action Automotive. Located in St. Robert, Missouri at 128 April Drive, Action Automotive is your place to go for everything from oil changes to engine and transmission swaps. I know personally the owners, Caitlin and Evan York, who are two wonderful people from my hometown, and they just had their newborn baby. They're open from Monday to Friday, 8 to 5. If you got that oil light on, you're thinking about getting, it's time to switch out that 250,000 mile transmission on that square body you got going on. These are the guys you want to go to, okay? Reach out to them. That's Action Automotive in St. Robert, Missouri, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. Hey guys, if you're looking for a car, I'm going to recommend you somebody that I would reach out to myself. I'm going to talk about Jacob Cahill, who works out there at Rusty Drew and Toyota. He's a sales consultant, and he offers a fun, low-pressure car buying experience. He's up there in Jefferson City, Missouri at 2105 Christie Drive. Any type of car you need from used to new, he is the man to put you in the car. Okay, reach out to him. His number is 573-535-5656 at extension 542, or just reach out at jcahill at drewingauto.com. That's jcahill at drewingauto.com. I know the market right now, personally for me, has been very hard to negotiate. And, you got a lot of people that are really trying to put food on the table, and you can't blame them. But trust Jacob when he tells you he's trying to put you in the best car possible that you can afford. Thanks, guys. Hey, guys. Welcome to another episode of Benny and the Guest. With you, as always, is Ben. I'm joined today, two special dudes. I got Jared Bush. Say hello.
Hello.
Hey-o. Jared and me met through a school we're in right now. He's going to tell you his life story in a minute. And then one of the most influential people in my life since I was a kid is Brian Mike. Okay.
The Fury.
The Fury. 1067. The Brian Mike. Brian, say hello.
The man with the voice and nothing else.
Do you hear that shit, guys?
Yep.
I'm done podcasting. He's taking over with this cool hat, too. Brian's going to be like he's going to be our guy on the side, keeping us.
Peanut gallery.
I can't ask every question perfectly, so he's going to ask a lot that we need to. We're going to go into Jared's life, talk a little bit about him.
Ask away.
Yeah. I'm just going to dive into it because, number one, I want to know, but number two, we really don't have a lot of time because we're about to go deer hunting in the morning.
Yeah.
So we either got to be hungover as dog shit or get some sleep. So there's probably going to be the former happening.
Mm-hmm.
Jared, tell us origin story. Originally, where are you from, and those early childhood years? What happened?
This could be very interesting, honestly. I am a child of two individuals who were successful yet failures in life in raising their son. Successful in the fact that I learned what not to do, and failures in life to figure out what they shouldn't have done to raise a child. But I'm the youngest of four. I'm youngest, but not the baby. The one above me is the baby. But we're only separated by my oldest.
Well, wouldn't you be the baby?
No.
It can't have a one above you be the baby.
You say that, but although I was the youngest, the one above me was the mama's boy. He was the sought after.
Yeah, but you're
one.
still the baby.
No, you say that until you're the youngest, and the one above you is the baby. He's the mama's boy. He was the one who sought after. He was the one who would sit outside my mom's door after, and she's in the shitter, and he's just crying his eyes out.
And we're starting with the trauma. Very early on.
Already. You asked. I just explained. Anyway. So,
no, I get it. I get
so,
it. I get what you're saying, yeah.
So
he was the one above you while not being the baby. He was babied the most.
He was the baby.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
The family.
What was the gap there?
So my oldest and I, so there's four of us, I mentioned, 4.5 years between myself and my oldest brother. So there's four boys in 4.5 years. Which God bless my mother. She did a great job, honestly.
Almost physically impossible, but she crushed it.
Yeah. We were all very close. So the funny part is, as I mentioned, I think I was mentioning to your wife earlier today, is that I was the glue to the four brothers and I. Where my number two, he was the antagonistic individual. He continues at 40 years old, to antagonize my oldest and the one above me effectively and consistently, even through our text group we have. It's amazing. That being said, I was born in El Paso, Texas. My family, my dad's side of the family used to own the whole area, back in the day, like a long time ago. We had a lot of rich family roots. Parents split up. And it ended up in the Houston area. My mom's family is in the Houston area. And then that's a very short version of our life. The fun parts of my life are when we moved to Montana in '91. Montana is...
That's fucking sick. Hold on one second. Brian, what do we make of this I'm the baby but not the baby thing?
I had a similar startup, 4 boys, my mother, but there was 11 years between us.
Oh. Holy shit.
And my youngest is definitely the baby.
Yeah.
That's typically the case.
What were you? Were you the second oldest?
I'm the oldest.
Oh, you're the oldest. Yeah. Okay.
What made your youngest the baby?
I mean, I think just the
gap,
separation.
yeah.
So it was like me 2 years, 4 more years, 4 more years.
I think when it's that definitive a gap, it probably establishes majorly this is the baby.
They wore out by the time that
there's more of a focus. There's more of a focus on that younger child.
Yeah. Whereas you, it was like, no, he's more emotionally like, we're gonna pay attention to this one. As opposed to this dude's figuring it out already.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, and we'll go into this later on, honestly, is that, my oldest brother and I were the successful ones. The 2 middle ones, well, let me take that back. The oldest and I, until recently, were the successful ones. This number 2 was not so successful in the last 3 years. But we all thought he was like rock bottom. Number 3, he was in prison for a while. Different story as well. So we always joke with my mom and dad, hey, you got half right, no big deal. Yeah, 4 boys. Yeah.
Holy shit.
4 boys, you can't, I mean, I think that's kind of the way it goes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And everybody finds their own path.
That's a good point.
Mine's the same way. My next younger brother, much more successful financially than I am. I've probably lived a lot more life than he has.
Yeah, success is relative for sure. I agree with that. Yeah.
My third, the third of us, same thing. Probably should have been in prison quite a few times. Was very close to it. Now he's completely come around and is almost more successful than all of us.
Yeah.
Oh shit, that's awesome.
And the youngest is, has his own struggles, but he does all right for himself.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. The financial portion of success, I would agree, is definitely relative. I mean, there's positional, there's happiness, there's, family structure. It depends what you're looking at. But financially, people are not successful, even though they may have a lot of money.
Yeah. My case in point, me and my brother and my sister, we were, still I wouldn't call myself financially successful, but I would definitely say me and my brother and my sister for our 20s, like nobody was very successful with that shit. Just it's hard sometimes, man. And especially if you don't have that. I think there's the old thing of like your family ties and your social status and your economic status doesn't change through generations. A lot of times, it takes a lot of effort to get that to go up or down. So I think. Me, Tony, and Brad have done a little bit of it, but it's very hard to do. So I get what you're saying, where it's like, you come from a family that does okay, but you're always trying to fucking do better.
Yeah.
But it always seems hard as fuck to do, you know?
It is hard to an extent, and again, until you're swayed against doing what your parents didn't do, And so like I was giving my mom advice, and again, God bless her, she tried her hardest and she just could not latch on to certain things. But I was in 8th grade giving her financial advice.
Man.
Yeah, and
8th grade.
Yeah, and so you're just like,
that's a problem.
Had a budget, and I can't get a job legally. I worked my ass off. I worked on a farm, not a farm, but a ranch. I was barbed wire fences and roofing houses, and so so there's an extent of how you can learn to be better. And so it is hard, but at some point it just becomes part of your life. You sort of force yourself into wanting to do better. We talk about this like exhaustively for the last couple of weeks. Is wanting to do better in life for yourself. And although I've had lots of help in the fact of people being there, but I've usually sought my mentorship, and individuals that I wanted to pour into my life, so
I think me and you both we relate to this of you see people at a certain point and you levitate to them, they don't levitate towards you because they are probably a little isolated. They are a little more focused on their life. They're not concerned about other people at that point.
Yeah.
And you are like, I kind of want to be like you. And they're like, well, here's what I did,
But can I comment on that?
Absolutely.
No, Brian, get the fuck out of here. Go to bed.
How old were you when you had kids in reference to how old your mother was?
My mom was 28 or 29. Or
So
20,
older than I would have guessed.
She's old. She's older. Yeah. My dad was 34, so she was 28 or 27, 27, 29, and I was 31 or 32.
Yeah. So I mean I see the same kind of things with my parents.
Yeah.
Very much struggle with money.
Really?
Oh, absolutely.
Same shit.
Very much struggle with money their entire lives. But had kids at 20. And kids were their priority. We never went without anything. We didn't have money, but we always had what we wanted.
Yeah.
Where I was much older than them. I was 32 before I had my first kid.
Yeah.
And my 20s, I lived like a maniac and made really good money, but I knew what to do with my money.
Yeah.
And by the time I had kids, then your priorities change completely.
Yeah, absolutely.
To that's your number one focus on giving them.
You don't give a shit about nothing else except for the kids.
Care.
Yeah.
I mean, it's insane how it changes.
Everything is secondary.
Everything changes. You're going to make them happy and give them what they want, no matter what you have to sacrifice to do it.
Yeah.
And
even getting ice cream at 8 o'clock at night running
and
to town.
Looking back now, I see the struggles my parents had and the things I had when I was a kid versus what they made was unbelievable. What they were able to give me for what they produced.
And it gives you a preference for the kids you see that maybe your kids wonder why they're acting like that or why these kids, hey, why is it like that? And you're like, well, their parents are probably struggling at this point. Like, you understand now.
It's interesting you mentioned that process about how your parents struggled with, and I'm going to belabor the point that my mother specifically did an amazing job with what we had. Right. So my dad came from the John Wayne era, which I think hindered a lot of grown-ass adults of males of his era in a lot of ways, helped in a lot of ways, I think, as far as establishing what manhood is per se, but also it hindered in some ways too.
Well, emotionally wise, right?
Absolutely. One thing that I would say that was amazing, I'm going to belabor the point, is that my mom did her damnedest to make sure that we had what we needed. Now, I didn't get what I wanted, that's for damn sure, but we never were for food. We were poor as fuck. I mean, relatively, to the world. I got one pair of shoes a year. The same way my dad grew up in, the 50s is how I grew up. I got one pair of shoes a year. I got a pair of nice pants that I wore maybe once every now and then. The rest of them are all holes, which is, I don't give a shit about the holes in the pants. You're a kid. You don't care. And you're in Montana. You don't, just probably what you do here in Missouri. You're outside all the time. Not a big deal. But we were never for want. We always had the food we wanted, but you don't realize about what getting food stamps is when you're that kind of kid as well. You just don't understand it. Your pants are too short, or you just don't care at that time. In retrospect, you see how much your parents did. But I think most of my complaint, as you and I were talking about, was what you did with what you had. Did you buy cable instead of buying your kids clothes, or did you buy 3 liters of Coke a day and 4 cans of dip a day?
But don't you? I hate this. That I wish I could give my kids a pill, just have them understand what the process is of bills, like like affording allowances and all that shit. Like I wish I could give them a pill to understand that, because like now my son's getting to that age where you're talking about where they ask for stuff and you're like dude, I can't afford that right now, and even now I'm trying to explain that where I'm like, dude, I can't, I am at a point I can't get you there right now, and he's like, but why, Dad? And you're like, dude,
let them shop for themselves.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I mean, it works. I used to.
Well, we have that now, and it does great. It does great.
And once they realize that spending money is a consequence of what they get, it react. I mean, my oldest daughter not quite as much because she was spoiled rotten.
Yeah.
My younger daughter, so I only have 2 girls. My younger daughter, exactly the opposite. She is the thriftiest. Like, she won't buy stuff because she's like, there's no way I'm not paying that for it. And that was because that. We used to go places. I mean, we take them. I mean, we took our girls on lots of trips, but we would give them
a budget per se.
I'd hand them $100 bill
Yeah.
and say, take them to the American Girl doll shop in Chicago. Great trip. Kids love it. They have a blast. Here's a $100 bill. That's what you get to spend. You can't even buy one doll for that at that store.
No, you can't.
No. So then they would be like, oh my God, like, really? This costs that much? And it changes their whole perspective on, I understand now kind of what money versus stuff is.
So my wife is also a reservist, as we mentioned before in the past. She's in her reserving is in Portland, Oregon, and we live in Texas. And my daughter goes, Mommy, can you go back to Portland so you can get money for ice cream?
Oh, Jesus. So she knows, like,
no.
that's,
And my wife's like, oh, thanks. I appreciate that, so. But, back to the whole concept is growing up in relative hardship, per se, right?
Yeah, so I want to get back on track.
Yeah.
Because we're gonna do this a lot, probably.
Absolutely.
But so you were there.
Montana.
Yeah.
Moved to Montana in '91.
Okay.
And
what city?
Libby, Montana.
All right.
Where the fuck is that?
So it's 75 miles from Canada, and about 35 miles from Idaho.
There's nothing there.
So Sandpoint, Idaho. You ever heard of Sandpoint, Idaho? It's a great.
No.
It's cool. It's Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. It's a great place if you ever get a chance to go. It's between Spokane and Washington. It's where.
I know where Spokane is.
Yeah. Spokane is like there's a Air Force base there. They do a lot of SEER stuff there.
Yeah.
It's also like one of the meth capitals of the Northwest.
Yeah.
Anyway, I grew up in Montana, which I was mentioning your dad earlier. It's the asbestos capital of the United States, I believe.
The asbestos
I
capital?
heard you say that. I didn't know what town you were talking
Well,
about.
my dad probably went, yeah, sure, of course, yeah.
Yeah.
I know that, yeah.
But, no, really, I grew up there, and, Libby, Montana was also where the movie River Wild was filmed.
Oh, shit.
Oh,
yeah, okay.
Meryl Streep donated computers to our library. It was so amazing. Kevin Bacon was there. It was pretty sweet. I was very.
Dude, what a sick movie, though. Kevin Bacon and John C. Reilly just terrorizing this family.
But the Kootenai Falls is where it's filmed. It's a gorgeous area. So Libby was it's really, they call Montana God's country, and they call it Big Sky country.
Big Sky.
Yeah.
There's two names they call it. You'll see signs all the state.
Big Sky and shit, and God's country.
It's amazing.
Yeah. What a great term.
It really
Both of them are big country and God's country. I love it.
Well, until you've gone there, you will never understand the concept. You say Big Sky, oh yeah, because you look in Texas or you look in Missouri.
Because it's a big sky, right?
Yeah, but you stay in Missouri and you look up and you see sky. But when you go to Montana, for some reason, it's just this weird phenomenon. It just looks.
Well,
more
Kansas
grand.
is like that. When I go to Kansas,
so
it looks like that.
Non-natural light that the night sky.
Oh yeah,
insane.
absolutely. There's no.
Oh
light.
really?
There's almost zero light pollution there.
We were talking about that. Yeah.
Anyway, so I lived in Montana. So the town, when I was there initially, only had about 3,000 people in it, spread through that valley. Okay. And we had we had an elementary school, 2 elementary schools actually. I'm good. Oh yeah. These guys are here. Sorry, give him the flight.
No, there's some up there.
Oh, bitch.
Behind your case.
His PBR.
Sorry.
Yeah. So we there's.
God damn it.
3 elementary schools, 1 middle school, 1 high school. And it was all very small.
I think that was going to be that to you.
And relative. You got him here? Yeah, bring him over here.
Sorry.
It's all good. Do PBR. I haven't had a PBR in a long time. That's river beer for us. You know what? I'm gonna drink it up. I'm gonna cheers it real quick. I haven't had a PBR honestly for like 15 years probably.
No.
Seriously, cheers.
I love PBR. I love PBR.
Man.
Born and raised in St. Louis, so kind of always been a Budweiser guy, and this was kind of my side chick. And then after the whole,
yeah, got it.
Yeah. So went on a little Budweiser hiatus
You know what's like a big
this year, and I pretty much got everybody I know drinking this.
It's
now.
not now. This is not.
PBR.
So
PBR is a big.
no.
history beer.
It's not now. You said it now.
It's a big history beer.
It's been history beer for a long time.
That's what made it.
Oh yeah. So when I was in Montana, as I was mentioned before, and by the way, this remembers how I tasted it, like cat piss. But
Sorry, guys, I had to piss. I kept them rambling.
It doesn't taste like anything else.
It's piss.
That's absolutely
It's
true.
weird. It's. I just don't like light beer. I will not drink it.
I
refuse
love
to.
Yingling Flight is my brand right now. It's so good. I love it.
Flight's good. I like it because it's not. It's like a Michelob Ultra, just cheaper.
Yep.
Like it's solid.
And it's made in America.
That's
so is Michelob Ultra.
Yingling makes it.
Yep, Yingling.
Yeah, it's a Yingling beer. It's just
America's beer.
It's like an ultralight beer.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Also, okay.
Wait, are we going to convert Brian Mike?
We're about to see. You want to
Yeah,
flight?
he tilted
You
his
want to
head.
flight, dude?
That means
I'm done with this.
No.
Yeah, let's
Yeah.
fucking go, dude.
Otherwise, I got to go all the way out to my truck.
That's America's beer, anyway. Yeah, so living in Montana, man, it's a beautiful place.
Yeah.
But the problem is there's so much. So we didn't have Abercrombie.
This noise
and
won't be
Fitch.
in there, by the way.
It's all good. Abercrombie and Fitch, we didn't have all kind of shit there. Like we had, like if you were rich, you wore Nike. That was the thing there. Nike clothing is what you wore there.
Yeah.
The nearest Walmart was 89 miles away.
I mean, that's how Missouri is too,
Not
though.
Carhartt.
No, well, that was. I'm not even sure that was even a thing when I was growing up. I don't think Carhartt was even around, but yeah, Nike was the thing. If
I
you
mean,
were there.
Brian, you could attest to this too. I think it's crazy that was the thing on Montana because Missouri, Carhartt was just known as a work brand. Like nobody wore Carhartt as a.
How old are you?
I'm wearing one right now.
37, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, what would you say, Brian?
So I remember. I'm old enough to remember when.
This is this might be my greatest podcast, goddammit, and we have a limited time. This is bullshit.
I remember
God
when Nike
damn it.
started, and what you were saying before. I wanted a pair of Air Force Ones. Probably 6th grade, I'm guessing. Somewhere around there.
This is like what, 88? Or no, like 80,
78?
78? Bullshit.
No, I graduated high school in 89, so 80.
I was 3.
81 maybe? 81?
Wasn't even
82?
close to being born yet.
Um,
My dad was doing dirty shit
and
still.
I remember asking my
With
mom,
Brian Mike.
like, I want to, like all the kids
Fury.
at school were wearing Nikes.
Yeah.
And, I mean, they were just this, nobody ever even heard of them.
That was huge back
And-
then. That was a gigantic because of MJ.
I want to say a pair of Air Force Ones then were like $60.
Which that's expensive then.
Oh,
Yeah,
you
it's-
could buy,
Might as well be
whatever-
$200.
whatever
Yeah.
the, we didn't have Walmart then, so whatever the, other shoes we were wearing, I don't even remember.
Yeah.
Keds.
Reebok.
Kids, dude.
No, Reeboks didn't
Chucks,
exist.
yeah. Chuck
Reeboks-
Taylors.
Chuck
No,
Taylors,
the Adidas,
but
they had the
it was after-
Sambas.
It was after Chuck Taylors. I'm not that old, but it was like Keds.
PF
Keds.
Flyers
Yeah.
in Sandlot.
Keds were maybe $30, for a pair of Keds.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Nikes were twice as expensive. I was like, are you freaking crazy? Like, why would I pay $60 for a pair of tennis shoes? You're retarded.
That's crazy. 60
What's
bucks
wrong
back
with you?
then.
Yeah, that's a lot of money.
60 bucks now seems like a lot to me
And,
for a pair
but
of shoes.
guess what? I got them.
Hell yeah, dude.
I might have, but I also
Did you scrub them? Did you take care of them? Did you wear them?
Did you crease the shit out of them?
we wore the crap. I probably they were just trash.
As
But
you should.
they
Yeah.
were trash. They were fucking
uh,
trash. Are you what do you hold on.
Grizzly.
Oh, hold on, Grizzly.
And it
What-
busted open.
Oh,
Oh,
gross.
geez.
It's all in your teeth? Oh, that's fucking
It's dessert.
gross,
Take
dude.
some banana whiskey.
Oh,
all.
I'm about to take some. Dude, I
I spit it out.
got some in the car. Two
I got a
rogues.
bottle.
Okay. You
So-
gonna mix it up? You gotta mix
You
it
want
up.
to hear
Dude.
something? While we're totally off the subject, you want to hear
Yes,
it?
Yes, please.
So
yes.
I may or may not have brought a beer to the stand earlier on the ride up, and I finished it except for about a swallow I left in the bottom of it.
Oh, I know it's going up here.
And it was 4 hours sitting in the front of the side by side.
Yeah.
So I made it to the side by side about 20 minutes before your dad. So I'm like, I'll drink that last swig of beer that's in that can.
Somebody spitting it?
So no.
Oh, yeah, that's what I was waiting for.
Yeah.
I take it back. It's only a mouthful.
Okay.
There was
That's what she said.
There was
A bee?
at least 3 times the mouthful of insects
Oh.
in that. Like, so your dad comes to the side by side. And I'm like, like just spit grit out of my mouth. I don't even know how many bugs I had.
Holy
It was
shit.
just full. Like it was in my. They were stuck in my teeth
Ugh.
and everything else.
Jesus.
Well,
Hey.
I'd rather that than dip, though.
Here's a table side conversation. Do you guys ever take beer to the stand?
I've never been to a stand.
Oh, you do.
Have I ever, or should I have ever?
Is that against the law here technically? I'm sorry.
I mean,
Sorry,
nothing-
in Missouri, are you allowed to do that? Or
I
is
don't
it-
know.
I mean, intoxication. And
I mean,
a rifle
intoxication
are
rifle is
probably
not
frowned
legal.
upon
Well, you're
in
asking
most.
Allegedly, has anyone ever brought one? I might
Well, because
have.
people go ice fishing all the time.
Uncle
I
Harold.
just fishing, obviously, but
Okay, let's reference that.
Uncle
He don't
Harold.
know. He don't know, but I pull an Uncle Harold every opening weekend. I pull that every fucking.
that's when you
An
guys all
Uncle
get together and
Harold.
get hammered.
An Uncle Harold is when you only wear, no matter what the weather is, a blue sweater and jeans,
And take a six-pack
and you take
to
a
the stand.
6-pack and you smoke orange Pall Malls the whole time you're in the stand.
What is wrong
I
with
do
you?
all of that besides the orange Pall Malls. I do that opening weekend.
I normally do not take beers to the stand. And
I take like
did
3.
Not, I
tell
drank
you
a
3.
beer in the side by side on the way to the stand.
I take 3, and I used to think when I was younger, when I was way younger, I was like, "There's no way, because I pop this, the deer are gonna hear it."
Oh yeah.
The deer don't fucking
I know,
hear it,
dude.
dude.
but what
don't
they
care.
do here is you having to pee 4 times. a week.
No, that's when I piss myself, Brian. That's when I piss
He wears the
myself.
Depends. He just,
Yes,
he just
depends,
pisses
dude.
himself
Depends.
over. Speaking of Depends, real quick, I had
This is the worst and best podcast ever. Okay, speaking of depends.
So this is not Depends, but
He's sponsored.
these are.
Hey guys, our next sponsor is Depends. I'll take a break. Talk to you about when you got to piss yourself.
Make some money right
Available at your most inconvenient times of your life. Please, it Depends Invisible for those mans in the hunting stand.
We all got to piss.
No, it actually not depends, but it's about taking a leak when you're having to depend on something like that. So I had a dual inguinal hernia repair in 2022. Yeah, I think that's what it was. And 21. Yeah, one of those years, 21, 22. Anyway, they were going to come and get me real quick, and I'll be brief. They're going to come and get me real quick to go back, like, hey, we only give you a catheter. I'm like, fuck, no, you're not giving me a catheter. There's no way you're putting it in my pee hole. And I said, look, I'm freaking 36, 35 at the time. I said, there's better technology these days. What do you got? He's like, well, I have this little condom thing I put on you. I'm like, yep, do that. So they didn't put it on me before I went in there, but I woke up with it on. So somebody put it on me, I guess. But that thing was the coolest shit in the world, dude. Honestly, all it is this little sticky little condom thing they put over with a tube attached to it. You just take a piss whenever you want, and it just goes in this little bag, like a colostomy bag. I'm like, man, I'm gonna take that to the freaking stand. It's amazing. As a trucker,
That's pretty sick.
Your dad,
That'd be
would
good.
fucking
Do you have
No, don't tell
Do you
Dad.
have a truckload of those?
I should. It's amazing. Like
Start
imagine,
selling.
Imagine like a football game, whatever else. Like it's just a little sticky condom thing. And the funny part was that I had a woman nurse initially, but in the afternoon I had a male nurse. He's like, hey, do you need help taking that thing off?
Yes.
And I was like, no,
Absolutely.
I got it, bro.
We're waiting on you.
Oh,
Dude.
sorry.
You liar. He took it off you.
I can't imagine. This
He
is my
had
last.
He had soft hands.
This is my last. God
He
damn
was
it.
very slow and gentle.
warmed
He was.
them up
God damn it.
He rubbed his hands together, whispered in my ear. He put his hands in his armpits first before he did. And he
Sorry, I took it off the rails.
Anyway, okay, can we go back to let's go back to Libby, Montana real quick.
Yeah, I gotta get somewhat of your story. God damn it.
I keep trying to go things
I
forward.
know.
Brian Mike the Fury 107.6.
We're having too much fun.
is
I'm
def-
turning
The
my
problem is
mic
we're having
off.
too much fun. We're gonna bring this to the deer
I'm a bad
stand.
influence.
We're gonna record in the deer stand. It's fine.
Okay, I want to make this important and not condensed, but
No, yeah.
very long.
Hit your hot topics though.
So my point is that Libby, Montana. So we had what's called a Pomida. That's what it was called. That was
Okay.
the store we had. Walmart was 89 miles away. We had a grocery store. We had a couple other things.
Yes.
The thing is, in Libby, Montana, in order to
Isolation.
in order to thrive there, you had to either be a business owner or like a doctor or like a lawyer, basically. Everyone else
Okay.
in Montana lives on freaking welfare, literally. Like you have grown-ass adults working at McDonald's, which usually are like kids' jobs. The
Yeah.
jobs in
Yeah,
industry
but
with
that's
kids
their
are like adult
career.
jobs. Yeah, absolutely. So, although everyone's on welfare, still there's rich people there, and you don't realize how rich people are until you're not one of those people.
Montana, I'm sure it's more even like a dichotic, where you have the poorer people and then you have the people that are doing very well.
When I was
Do you
growing
see
up,
that or no?
When I was growing up, that wasn't so evident in Libby, only because there is very little ways in the early 90s to show wealth. Like there was no iPods, there's no electronics to show off. It was like a vehicle or a big house.
True.
You know, that's all you could really show. But even then, big vehicles in Montana, no one's driving a Lexus in Montana right there. They're driving just big ass pickup trucks or something like that.
You said oil well in your front yard.
What's that?
I said, or you had an oil well
Oh yeah,
in your front
right.
yard.
Yeah, not Libby, but generally you'd be right probably. But yes, like it'd be like a big nice house and usually like a log cabin. Somewhere. That's how you showed like the wealth.
Really, that was the thing though. Like they had that much. The gap was that big.
Yeah,
is what
massive.
I'm saying. That's what I'm
crazy.
saying.
And
There was no middle. There was really no
there's
middle.
Zero middle.
Yeah.
You know, the funny is, so my mother, as I mentioned before, my dad moved up there to be. So my dad moved our family away from my mom's family, which is a complete support system in Texas, in the Southwest Houston area, because he was threatened by their cohesive environment. Well, at the same time I would say it was semi-toxic, and I can say that at this point too, because you know when there's a marriage involved, a lot of shit should stay between you and your wife. You know,
yes,
there's a lot. I mean, unless your husband is beating beating somebody, like
tell that to my
if your daughter had a boyfriend who was beating her, that's one thing. But their fights and their disagreements are between them, you know.
Tell that to my mom and dad.
And she shouldn't be being like financial crap to you unless it's like dire and an agreement. That's just how it should be.
Right.
That being said, the family is a little more open than it should have been in that aspect. And no one's perfect, but my dad just wanted to be more private.
I think. And
I agree with that to an extent.
I want to jump to that just because I feel that on a personal level, like my wife, you know, her family. Never involved, not very close, not really like that. My family, obviously, you remember my dad and my mom, very involved. You can already tell, right? Like from that. So my wife is very, I don't know what to call it, but it's like
confused.
Like confused, yeah, and like no, but turn
hands right now.
I don't. Brian, you know already. Like Brian knows, dude. Like. My parents are like every issue me, my brother, my sister have, they're there for it and they want to be there and helpful. But to Danielle, it seems like they're involved in everything. Yeah. And she's like, get the fuck out of here. Like this is our issues.
It's almost like an impediment.
We'll tell you if we need you. And I have a hard time with it because I'm like, I'm on the opposite spectrum of you where I'm like, well, I always want them involved because it's my family. Like they know best for me. Yeah. And Danielle's like, no, Ben, like we can make these decisions ourselves. Yeah. And that's hard for me to wrap my head around, I guess.
I you know, it's also hard because if you grew up with your family, they're your family, and what you know is good is what your family says is good. Traditionally, there's nothing illegal going on.
Brian, do you think that or no? Sorry, do you think that?
That's how people are growing up that way.
Yeah.
Real quick.
Yeah.
You know, now the difference. So I am a private person as well, and I don't usually involve. My family is never involved in that aspect, but my mother-in-law is around a lot, and I love my mother-in-law. For the record, I always tell my mother-in-law I appreciate her 98% of the time. The 2% is a small shit that she pisses me off, and she knows that, and I told her that. But my wife and I talk. She talks to her mom every day. But my wife's an only child. Her parents,
so she has that close connection. Yeah, very close.
They're not close emotionally, but they're close.
No,
but they're close habitually and friendship-wise. Yeah, that's how they talk. But my wife knows not to discuss things like, unless we talk about it, financial or certain plans, unless we talk about it. So, but there's a discussion first before that communication happens. Okay. You know, we fall on the Christian portion of that where the Bible says, you know, you get married and you're one with your wife, and then now not your family. It doesn't mean your family's not involved anymore. It just means that what's yours is between you and your spouse, and it's shared that way. And then at that point, it's your guys' choice to disperse that information. Like, when we first got married, my mother-in-law would call my wife at 7 a.m. on a Saturday, and the first time she did that when I was home, because I traveled quite a bit, I said, give me your phone. I said, look, don't call my house here before 9 o'clock on a Saturday ever again. And she said, okay. I told my wife, I said, look, you shouldn't be talking to anybody outside of our house before me unless I'm sleeping in. I said, because we're married, and I'm you. The first thought in your brain should be our family. And that's not to say that I'm domineering. It's just that when we're starting out new, we're each other's priority at that point. It's not going to be your mom or my family. It goes both ways, by the way. You know, and that's just how we were. And now she's like that. She's like, hey, unless I text you first or call you first, unless it's an emergency, don't really contact us.
Interesting. I like it. It's a very good It's a very good ultimatum.
It's just
And
boundaries.
it's- and it's a
know.
boundary,
And if you don't
yeah.
set boundaries with the families in general, then when you start off, you can relax as much as you need to. Then later on, it will never change. It's hard to change. So
Brian, what do you got? I wanted to hear from you
No,
about all this shit.
So I come from a huge family that is
Yeah.
extremely close. Like
And
I have third cousins that I was raised.
Well, it was
with.
all Catholic, right?
my brother.
Irish Catholic or
I mean,
shit like
my,
that.
My kids ask me how you're their cousin.
I'm not their fucking cousin.
I know, but that's how close we are to our cousins.
Okay.
That they see you guys and they're like, wait, how are we related to them?
Oh, okay.
And but I 100% agree with you that. So my family is very much if it ends up in the need to know basis, everybody knows. And everybody's got your back.
Yeah.
And if you need an army, they're there
Yeah.
in seconds.
Mm-hmm.
But I am very much, and I've lived my entire life by they don't need to know a lot. If I need them, I will ask.
Yep.
But the day-to-day BS,
Oh, absolutely.
no. And I do the same thing. And my wife and I have been together for a long time.
Jenny's
since
the best.
Since we were
Shout out Jenny.
Since we were 16
She's the
years
best.
old.
Shit.
So she has been around my parents, my
God bless her.
grandparents, my cousins.
She's awesome,
Like,
dude.
They don't
Jenny's
know
the
anybody
shit,
else.
dude.
She is.
I wish Jenny was on here
she's
instead
the
of Brian.
greatest- she is. My wife is the greatest woman.
Jenny
in the world.
Mike, the other Fury.
And
Dude, Jenny Laspe, dude. Jenny Mike Laspe.
yeah.
But
we have a problem. Same thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes not that she talks to her family about
Yeah,
it because her family is very estranged, and she comes from 7 kids, but didn't know her grandparents.
Yeah.
Like doesn't know anybody outside of them, and they don't all get along very.
Did you
good.
say 7 kids?
Yeah.
God
She's-
damn.
She's the baby of 7.
God
5.
damn.
My wife and my wife's oldest sister, and my dad graduated high school together.
Wow.
Take that one and smack you in the face.
God.
But
take
she-
some howler
she-
to my head, dude.
She
That's
talks
what's
to
about
my
to
mother
happen.
and one of my aunts that is like my second mother on a daily basis, and sometimes tells them stuff that I'm like,
Why the fuck you telling
fuck
that?
did you tell them that?
Here's what's about to
Like,
happen. I'm about to
they
record
don't
just
need to
Brian
know
and
that.
you record a
Sorry.
podcast together because this is gold. God, I fucking hate
Sorry.
that we got a deer hunt tomorrow.
Why? We could do this.
It's
till
only
we
10:40.
We don't
Brian,
have to go to bed.
We don't. Okay. Anyway.
Yes.
We don't have to go to bed. So
Anyway,
So sometimes she'll say.
what time is it? Like 10:30?
It's only 10:40. It's all good.
anyway, Brian, no, but would you say like, I don't know.
I don't
What
ever
he's talking
say
about is
like.
like he set boundaries. Did you set boundaries with your family? Like, did you do that like solidly or no?
I mean,
Not as well.
Not flat out like
Yeah.
here's the law.
I think that's a hard
but
thing.
Yeah.
We're old couple. I mean, we've been
Oh
together.
yeah, I
they've
get what
evolved
you're
since
saying.
you were
So
yeah.
that has
Different.
evolved over
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
years. I mean, it's just she knows
Yeah.
that it pisses me off.
Yeah.
when she tells my mother something that I wouldn't tell her
Yeah.
because I don't think, I mean, there's just some things you don't want to share.
See-
and I'm not saying it's good or bad or that or the other.
You want to be in control
It's-
of information, regardless. of what
Yeah,
it
but
is.
it's just like I don't want to bother her with that
Yeah.
sometimes, and other times I just don't want to, like.
Stir the pot and shit.
It's not even stir the pot. It's just like she's got better things to do than worry about what.
But see,
shit
here's
I'm in,
here's my problem.
whether it's
I-
good or bad.
Me and my wife, we're right here right now, and my wife hates dealing with the bullshit, whereas I'm used to dealing with the bullshit, so I want to hear it so I can take care of it. And now, especially like,
Well, you got to deal with. The
I don't
bullshit.
want to
You
make
have
this.
to deal with the bullshit.
But I know,
There's
but
no
I
way
don't want.
around
I
it.
don't want to make this podcast about me. I'm trying to make this like as dry cut as I can. My family deals with shit around higher echelons than me, like great grandparents or whatever, grandparents, and they're trying to deal with it. And to me, it's just like, why don't you just stop talking to them? But it's a lot deeper than that, and there's a lot more complications. And I can't. I would get so, and which is crazy because I say I would get frustrated.
No,
and
I
I'm talking
agree.
about Eddie Lake. So
I 100% agree with that, and I am very much the cut people off, and
yeah. And I
that-
got
but-
shit
but-
for it. I
but
cut
wait,
people off,
but
and
wait.
I got shit
but
for it.
But I regret that. That's what I'm getting at. I do that. I 100% do that. If you rub me the wrong way, burn me, just make me put in the position that I don't want to deal with you anymore, I just won't deal with you anymore.
Yes.
But in my lifetime, and I'll tell you this while you're younger, that has haunted me to a point that I've wished I've made amends or treated other people differently.
Even if you hated them that much or you were that upset
Hate's
with
a
them.
strong word in that
Yeah,
aspect.
and I
Inconvenienced you that
yes,
much. In that
and
aspect.
I know.
I
I hated
won't-
that person. I hated that person.
Yeah.
But why did you hate them?
Because they pulled a
That's-
gun on my dad.
Well, that's a different story.
Well, that's-
No. I'm not saying. I'm not saying why. I really wasn't asking the
No,
question
no,
why.
yeah.
No, but
was
I wanted to
asking-
throw it out
I was
there.
asking you
I wanted to throw it
ask the
out
question
there.
Why?
I wanted to throw it out there.
Context
Yeah.
matters.
So yes,
Yes.
it definitely does matter. But I mean, you got to look back at that and say, if that was, flip yourself into that.
Yeah,
person's
Brian, what do I
position,
need to look at?
Flip it and reverse it.
I'll tell you a story later on.
Who the fuck are you, Missy Elliott? What the fuck
I'll
is
tell,
this?
look,
Yes.
hey, put a pin in that one. I'll tell you an exact because
But
I
I'm
have a-
just saying,
Yeah,
there's-
we gotta get
there's
back on-
I have a
circumstances.
current.
But no, I, Brian, I'm sorry. I might cut that part.
No,
I'm sorry.
No, don't cut it. It's fine. I have a current story currently going on with that. We'll talk about that later, though, because it's extremely
Okay.
relevant to what we're talking about. But I feel
I'm sorry if I made you guys uncomfortable. I didn't mean
I'm
to.
not comfortable. Well, he made
No,
more-
they're
drinking-
taking their shirts off. What the fuck
I'm
is
being
it?
PBR.
Nah.
That's more comfortable this conversation is.
Did you see the pictures from last weekend?
Dude.
By the way?
Is it amazing?
Oh no! Hold on. Hey guys, we're gonna take a break and we'll be back soon. Hey guys, another person I want to talk about before we start the show is Eric Vierhoff, who runs a really awesome business called Sun Stoppers out of Columbia, Missouri. If you're driving down the road and that sun's hitting your eyes like crazy and you're thinking, damn, I gotta get some shades going on, look no further than Sun Stoppers, where they do everything from auto, home, and commercial window tinting to ceramic coating and detail. They even offer discounts for military, EMTs, firefighters, nurses, doctors, and teachers. This is awesome that they're out there supporting their community like that. For people that are giving so much, they're giving a whole lot back. Okay, they're located up there in Columbia, 1313 Grand Avenue, Suite B. They're open 8 to 5 Monday through Friday. Okay, Eric, I known him for years. Great dude, easy to work with. Okay, go there for all that that tinting needs, from auto to home and commercial. All right, thank you guys so much. Hey guys, wanted to reach out to another friend here before we get done with this podcast. Just my buddy Johnny Siebert. Okay, real nice guy. He actually just started his own little business called Johnny Rotten's Egg Wax. Okay, if you go skating, you're going to need a little bit of wax for your board to get those moves right and everything. Sometimes with wax, we lose it along the way. With Johnny's patented egg style wax, he's actually onto something to where you can actually just take that with you instead of losing an entire box of wax. So reach out to Johnny. What he's doing is starting to grow, and it's a great product, okay, for all you skaters out there, especially after listening to this podcast. It's definitely going to be something you're going to want in your arsenal. So that's Johnny Rotten Egg Wax, which is actually his Instagram handle, or you can look up Johnny Rotten Egg Wax company site, and it'll take you right to how you can order. Reach out to him. Thanks, guys. And we're back, guys. Now we're recording.
Sweet.
Welcome back.
We really didn't get far.
No.
Fucking Jared, tell us, you got the middle area kind of when you were in high school. You were in Montana. You went to Montana. You dealt with that shit. Let's talk about high school. Go from there, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Anyway,
Yeah.
poor kid. That was the whole point of the conversation, but the whole initial Montana thing, right?
Did you think you were poor when you were a kid, or were you just a kid?
Yes.
That's one. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to interject. I wish more people could interject with that question.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people think they were poor as kids.
Well,
and they weren't.
again,
Because I think I was a poor kid now, but when I was a kid, I didn't think I was.
So
poor at all.
it's both because I knew there's a divide from things I couldn't get because my parents couldn't get it. Cheers. Sorry, banana was key. Anyway, I knew I couldn't get it. The things I couldn't get, so I knew I was poor that way. However, I didn't dwell on it, you know. So I would see the things that I wanted, but I just couldn't get. No big deal. It wasn't that big a deal at that point. There's one point in time where I was actually made fun of. By the way, I was wearing corduroy pants.
Corduroy pants are dope, dude. They're warm
They
and comfy.
weren't dope.
Yeah, they weren't.
You know,
They weren't.
when I was at the time I was wearing them.
You were dope.
I know, right? They weren't dope because, but the thing is, they are high waters. You know what high waters are, right?
Yeah, I know it. Yeah,
they're
where's
still
the
same
flood,
thing,
dude?
right?
Yeah.
You know, there's one time I was only one time really. I was actually made fun of for my clothing when I was like, I think I was in 4th or 5th grade, and for that sort of comment. So to answer your question, partly yes, generally no. I didn't really think about it. So. But yeah, so the whole point of the conversation was to talk about how poor and
No, I want to circle back on it just one more second.
Okay.
I love that conversation though. Brian brought it up. A lot of people think they're poor now.
Yeah.
Or they were impoverished as a
Yeah.
child versus they didn't get everything they wanted.
Yeah.
I think that's a strong point because I still to this day don't know. I used to think when I was a kid, sorry, I'm holding the mic wrong. When I was a kid, I used to think like we were fine, like nothing's wrong. And then you get older and I was like, man, maybe we weren't that great off. But I don't know where my line was.
Yeah. Do
you think it's squiggly or like what do you think?
Well, I definitively knew. And one thing is, so my mom, I told you my mom she worked at a convenience store, and my dad owned a store. But owning a store doesn't mean you're well off. First of all.
Yeah, no, not
my dad
at all.
sold Danner Boots and Sporting Goods, but
Danner Boots are pretty
It was
good,
called Jim Bush Sporting Goods and Pawn, and that was the first one he
You
had.
put that and pawn on the end.
The second one he had was called Second Chance Sporting Goods and Pawn.
And pawn.
But he was also a gunsmith. The first one,
That's a problem,
I
dude.
know, right? The first one he owned.
Yeah,
we went there.
you said he was a gunsmith, though.
Yeah, it was called Jim's Guns and Gunsmithing.
Well, did he
continued with the
recycle
gunsmithing,
or what?
He continued with the gunsmithing, but
Dude,
he
if
also
it was
had
and
stuff.
pawn, at least you weren't the people pawning.
I know, right? No, yeah, in Libby, Montana. Which was that mean? If you're those guys, good God! I thought I was poor. Anyway, so that being said, my mom.
It's the bad guys from John
Yeah.
Wayne movies coming
Yeah.
there to get the weapon off of them.
So
How much
so
for
my,
this hat?
my mom worked at a convenience store, but she's also volunteer. She's wait for the COVID tuberculosis pandemic.
It's
Sorry,
actually
we
a new
need a
one.
long transplant.
COVID 20.
COVID 20. Anyway, so my mom worked at a Conoco as a gas station person,
Okay.
but she was a volunteer ambulance.
This is why you were in high school?
This is a majority of my time, and then at
Okay.
some point she became a dispatcher for a sheriff's office.
Okay.
But real quick, let me tell you how small Montana is.
Huh?
Our lives are so similar. It's not even funny. My
cool.
mother,
You and-
my mother
you
was
two?
my mother was a police dispatcher that then worked for the police department in Overland as a civilian. For,
Wow.
This is why we're here
30
tonight,
years.
boys. This is why we're here tonight.
it's kind of funny.
This is awesome.
So we moved. I told you my dad was from. We were born. I lived in El Paso.
Yeah.
My dad grew up there. Went to high school there.
Yeah.
So we moved to Libby, Montana. My dad walks into the Conoco store, and this woman goes, "Hey, Jim." Actually, she said Jimmy. Is what she said. My dad hates that name. Anyway, he looks up and he goes, "Meg," and he went to high school with this woman in El Paso, Texas, 20 or 30 years earlier. And he sees her as the manager of this Conoco gas station in Libby, Montana, a town of less than 3,000 people. Isn't that nuts?
Yeah.
That's crazy of all things. Anyway, so Libby, Montana. So again, I mentioned before the whole impoverished point of view and why it's there, and the whole point is to discuss the rags to riches sort of concept, right? Well, how does one bring themselves out of that situation? It's well, that's weird. It's the pursuit. It's the pursuit of intentional relationship, right? And so that's what mine was. My parents, I never knew they had issues. They had issues for sure because they got divorced at some point. the intent with their relationship was, as far as having an actual relationship between themselves, was I wouldn't even say it's surface, because they didn't ever show any PDA. I never saw my dad kiss my mom. I never saw them hug. I never saw them argue.
Wow.
Which is a big deal. I mean, my wife grew up in a very emotionally damaging home from her dad, abusive home from her dad, and I came from my dad yelled all the time. It was just how he communicated himself, where I was overtly expressing my emotion, and she would suppress her emotion. So
Yeah.
you see parents who don't argue but have yelling, and then you see I have a wife now who didn't yell and doesn't do anything. And how do you express that stuff?
So wait, but your parents yelled a lot?
My dad yelled a lot.
Okay.
My mom did not yell a lot.
And now you don't. Now
Parents still married or divorced?
No, they've been divorced. Yeah. So
At what age were you?
I was in my mom. My mom and dad decided to give us the choice to go, when they decided to split, going into my 8th grade year. So I was 12. The law in Montana is 12 years old and up. You can decide. And so we at one point were given the decision.
And my question is, because that influenced your life.
Absolutely.
That made you make a conscious decision on how I want to be and how I don't want to be.
Yeah. So here's some
Really?
funny things. Here's some funny things. This is crazy what you think about that. So it's interesting because most states don't have that law that the kid can decide. Montana is a very interesting area, right? So 12 years old, you have the right as a 12-year-old to decide who you want to go to, a mom or a dad.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what the court says unless it's damaging. Well, this is what I understand at the time.
Because they need
farmhands. Yeah, right. So
Jesus Christ.
we would have had more kids if that was the case, I guess, probably, right? I didn't even get to that point yet either, honestly. Before they got divorced. Anyway, so back real quick. I want to make to pinpoint something. This is very important because, we were to a point where we go back to the poor thing. So because you asked about if we were poor or not. Yeah. Number one, my brother had an accident where he was just a dumbass and he cut himself and he had to get stitches. My mom basically baked the doctor a cake to not have to pay for it. We used to get free milk delivered to our doorstep. A trooper would hit a deer, and because my mom knew him as a dispatcher, he would give us the deer to process, and we get free food.
You're the sons of Katie Elder.
I know, right? I know, right?
We just watched it.
I know, right?
We just watched it, Brian.
And then the very last thing is that our landlord at our house, we didn't own our house. My dad didn't own a house. I owned one. I think I owned before he almost. I think.
Okay.
I remember. Our landlord sold his house and moved into our house. We had to go somewhere. So my dad, maybe a month or two earlier, had these 2 high school kids rob his shop, but they found them.
No.
But they found the guys and recovered all the equipment.
Yeah.
And their community service, my dad went to the judge, said, "Hey, their community service is going to help me build an apartment in the back of my store for my family." And so my dad had these 2 guys who robbed his shop, forced them to work with him in his shop, and they built a 2-bedroom apartment behind his shop in an alleyway for 6 people. So I lived in a one.
He sounds like a nice guy,
right? So I lived in a 1-bedroom. 2-bedroom apartment for 6 people.
But it was behind the shop of.
It was attached to the shop. It was a door that separated
us. It was built
us.
by this clowns.
Just the internal portion of it was built by these guys. Yeah, and pond, right? So there's an entryway in between. There's an entryway in between. So it was a fridge in a kitchen area, and then my mom and dad had a room. That we had a room on one side, and it was no more than 200 square feet probably. That we lived in the whole place.
Oh
my four brothers and I shared an 8x8 foot room on bunk beds for a couple of years. Yeah. And then there's a space in between that separated our living area to the actual place.
In the 90s, that's crazy. In the 70s, that was normal.
Absolutely. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But you got to think they were also in. Was it not Wyoming? Montana.
Yeah.
So I mean, like. Montana is probably 10, 20 years behind.
That's not inaccurate.
Okay.
Yeah,
it's fine.
Well, no, that wasn't normal for Montana. Like my poorest friend still had a house.
I'm sure it wasn't normal, but it wasn't an insane display of
poverty.
Poverty, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a point where there was embarrassment when someone would drop you off at in the alleyway behind a shop in town, for sure. But again, I've lived all over the world, so my perspective of poverty is only in relation to what Montana is.
Right.
In
So
perspective, that whole
so
thing.
like me as a kid, when I was in
At least I had a
Vienna,
fucking roof over my head.
in
right?
Vienna, my dad
Well,
would
and
pick.
Montana's a little unique in the fact that that kind of lifestyle exists next to a guy that owns 25,000 acres.
Oh, absolutely.
Because of the, I mean, my mother grew up in a 1.5 bedroom house with 4 kids.
Yeah.
My grandmother's sister lived next door, 9 kids in a 1-bedroom house.
Yep, they all shared beds.
They had a
said they shared
lean-to
beds.
built
Yeah.
on the back of the house that had bunk beds in it, and 9 kids slept in 2 sets of bunk beds on a lean-to in the back of the house.
Yeah.
But that was
that's what you have
that was
to-
in Normandy,
Right.
Missouri,
Yeah.
Right.
in
And that's what you-
1960s.
But
I
that's
mean,
also
it's
you have to do
different.
with that many kids.
But and they lived on a quarter acre of land between the two
Yeah.
houses.
Not Montana in the
no,
90s in an
that's-
alleyway.
That's what seems weird in Montana.
Yeah.
Is you have this city type living.
Yeah.
Is what you would call it,
Yeah.
I guess,
Yeah.
if anything.
Sure, yeah.
And yet you're on this vast expansion
Yeah.
of acreage.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I've been a lot of places in the world too.
Yeah.
And you go to different countries. I've been to Africa, and it is very humbling.
Yeah.
I
see-
think
Yeah.
all of us have a
What?
very astute view of the world, and we look at the U.S. and we're just like, how the fuck do people bitch about this?
Because
Yeah.
nobody travels enough.
I know
Yeah,
that's the
absolutely.
problem. That's
Yeah.
the problem.
Yeah.
And you're like, if you would even travel, I don't care if you travel to Europe. I don't care if you
It
travel
should
to
be-
Southeast Asia.
If
I
we
don't
did-
care if you travel to
we
Middle
did
East,
anything with
Africa.
our, if
Go
we did
somewhere.
Anything with our tax money,
Yes.
it should be
Yeah.
go
Quit-
see
Quit talking
the
about
way
traveling.
other people are.
But here's
Yeah.
my problem. People talk about they travel, they go to Costa Rica or Panama or something. Who's like, no, go somewhere that's bad. Go somewhere, not bad, but go somewhere that's not.
third world countries will humble you to your core.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
anyway, so the whole point of the perspective is to talk about rags to riches, right? My
Oh, yeah.
my mom worked her ass off. She worked nights at the sheriff's office. I have memories of her in her bedroom. My brother Aaron, who I'll talk about in a minute, but long story short, he's an astronautical engineer now. But he was helping her with her math homework to get her associate's degree on the bed. And I just remember those memories of her getting her associates while working full time, while raising 4
Man.
boys, which my dad didn't do much at the time. He regrets that now, by the way, but he didn't do shit for me back then.
Okay.
Anyway, that being said, so that's the kind of aspect we're looking at. So I had a very good positive image of my mother.
Negative image of father.
Negative.
Pretty much.
Well, and the negative, unfortunate portion of my mother is not because of what she didn't do.
No,
it's
dude.
It's
No,
the
I don't
grizzly.
fucking want one. Dude.
it is honestly unfortunately for her is that because of what she was doing for work, she didn't have time for me.
Yeah.
So my mother and I now have a fractured relationship. It's
Yeah.
it's not so much emotional as it is like I intentionally try
Interesting.
to do that, but it's not. It doesn't exist there. So
yeah, I hate that.
and my dad's now is more. I pursued my father later on in life
right.
to build that relationship back
We'll
again.
we'll go over that.
Yeah,
we'll
absolutely.
go over that.
So that's kind of where we're at, right? So how do I progress myself from there? So, I mentioned that. So my parents got divorced. I had a choice to go with my mom or my dad. I chose my mom. And I was going on to this concept is that, I had a conscious decision at 12 years old, and I remember thinking this exact thing. Okay, because my best friend Jack was basically saved my future, my career. We've gone different ways since then, but his family was like basically like my family, and I was like, well, Jack is here, and I have family in Texas, but where am I going to be financially taken care of? That was my literal thought at 12 years old. And I remember that definitively. I was like, well, I know for a fact if I go down south, I have my grandparents there or whatever. If I'm up here, then I'll be in some shack. So I knew it wasn't even like mom or dad. It was better living it at 12 years old. And so I went down there, and sure as shit, that's kind of
And that's what fell into place.
That's what fell into place. And my brother Jeremy and I
There
chose
was a
that.
plan B.
There was a plan B. There actually was.
Which isn't always the case, as me and Brian
No.
know.
Yeah, right. 4 kids
But-
later, it's your fault.
that
Anyway.
I mean, as a kid, I get that. Totally get that.
So we had that choice. I made a conscious decision
yeah.
at 12 years old for that process, right? And so we went down to the Houston area. My brother Jeremy and I, the one above me, the baby.
Yeah.
He's not gonna leave his mommy, obviously. And
Yeah.
and my older two, my brother Aaron was actually in Paraguay as a foreign exchange student. The time my parents split, poor dude. It's Uruguay and Paraguay. It's between Argentina and you said you do know where it's at. Sorry, and Brazil.
I know.
South area.
Oh, that sounded good. Why does that? Here's
Anyway.
the problem. No, here's the problem though. Why did that only just sound good?
What?
For Brian talking, I'm worried. Brian, you good? I really hope it's okay. Never mind.
I
Whatever.
So.
Whatever.
Sorry.
All right, I have a
Just
problem.
listen, my friend.
Yeah, I know.
Anyway, so they split while my brother Aaron was down south. He was in Paraguay, and which sucks for
Jesus.
him because we just split the family up while he's overseas.
Yeah.
Anyway, that being said, I ended up in 4 high schools in 4 years. I went to live with my dad back in Montana for a year. We moved because he got laid off. I went back to Texas because he wasn't supporting me how I think he should have as a father. Basically didn't do shit, as a father. He didn't do anything with me whatsoever. I was on my own devices sort of thing.
Yeah.
And but I moved with him to give him the chance to redeem himself.
Hold on. This is basically from 8th grade freshman year to senior year.
Yeah.
So what was your favorite time though? Where'd you like living the most?
Montana, man. Montana
Really?
was the best.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
all my
was
friends were there.
Which is best, okay.
So I joined JROTC, which I loved.
Okay.
I was in junior ROTC, I was in Air Force ROTC, Marine ROTC, and Navy ROTC in three of my 4 high schools. Yeah, and I loved it. I got the bug. My brother Aaron and Jacob, they had joined the Air Force out of my idea. Actually, I'd given the idea before I was even able to join, and I was kind of living in their shadows in JROTC. And I had a really awesome mentor. His name was Major Himber. He was a B-52 pilot in the Air Force, and he gave me what's called a CHOPA letter when I was a senior in high school, which basically says a CHOPA letter says that you can get whatever job you want if you qualify in the Air Force. And they can't do anything beside it. So I got the CHOPA letter. I picked my job, even though I qualified for it.
Hell yeah.
Because it's not usually the case for people. And I got it, and I went for it. And so I left.
How'd you get that letter? Let's talk about that.
I just, again,
You were personable to
we
him.
talk about striving to have mentors, and he was a man I could see that I could appreciate good values from. He was strong.
I also talked to somebody today, or I didn't talk to him today. I'll talk to him the past couple weeks. Personability is a major ability that not a lot of people have. I also like to think I have it, but I know you have it. I know you have it.
Yeah.
And I think that gets you far in life.
I think it does as well, and thank you for that. I appreciate that. I like to think I'm personable. Some people think they are, but they're
Don't be
not.
gay, but
not personable. I'll touch your leg in a heartbeat. I'll touch you want to touch you right now?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Personability is 100% what is perceived by others.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Don't you think, Brian, like my dad, that's like my dad's thing.
I'm not saying you don't have it. I'm just
No.
saying
I think
you can't decide whether you have it.
No,
other people have to decide.
No, I think my dad, you met him. I have so many stories about my dad, and so many people have stories about my dad. I think my dad has personability, like nonstop.
Absolutely.
Like, and that's how I describe people that are able to function without, not my dad, but other people, like in the military especially. They function without knowledge or, characteristically, you really would want them to have the knowledge and whatever, and then they have the personability, and then they can thrive wherever they want. But personability really allows some people to thrive in all aspects of life, from the very top to the bottom.
Yeah. So the CHOPA letter was given to me because I attached this guy. I wanted him to be a mentor of mine. I pursued this individual. And he's great. He's still to this day. He's a good man.
Yeah.
He's now retired dually and as a luxury car salesman intentionally. He wanted to be in Florida, wanted to sell like Porsches and stuff. He just likes those kind of things anyway. So
Porsches are luxury these days.
Well, whatever he's looking at, Bentleys or
Dodge
Rolls Royces.
truck.
Anyway, so I got this chop letter, but so I was waiting to go in the Air Force, and why my brothers both enlisted, but the top two. Yeah. But as a side note, I wanted to go so bad. I enlisted a month and 10 days after I turned 17. I took my ASVAB at 16 years old, and I got a pretty good score on it at 16 years old. Yeah. And I enlisted, and I was in the delayed entry program, and I was the month after I graduated high school, I went to basic by my choice. Oh yeah, that was also the chopper letter. I can choose when I go to basic and what job I get. And so I chose a month after high school, and I went there. I got to my first station, and I failed 2 tests, which is funny because you see me as doing pretty well in our course now, right?
Yeah.
But I have very negative
okay.
educational aspects when I was growing up because of my parents. I had zero. Montana has this program called the LEAP program, or other states have it called it Gifted and Talented.
Yeah.
That kind of crap, Yeah. Yes, Montana was LEAP. Texas is Gifted and Talented. I was there, but my parents never followed through with me doing the requirements, so I never went. My brother was different. They pushed him through there.
You were skipped.
I was skipped. I really was.
In the wrong way.
The phone calls.
In the wrong way.
It was. So I am. Like I almost failed English in high school. I almost failed high school English. I had to do my homework, and so I didn't know the day before graduation if I was going to graduate. And then here I am. I was able to go to the Air Force. I failed. I just was playing around. I didn't know how to study. I'm massively ADHD.
Yeah.
And so never medicated, thank God. And so I didn't know how to do anything. I don't know how to study. And so I was thankfully given a position, a different job in the Air Force that allowed me to go to Germany. I was supposed to go to Minot, North Dakota. Minot, North Dakota. Thank God I didn't go there. Anyway, but I went to Germany, and that propelled everything from there on out.
Yeah.
I was given an assignment at the Joint Special Operations Command, which is a phenomenal gig.
And then that pushed it forward.
Which is funny because I mentioned earlier I met this guy at the 28 Shots, the bar earlier.
Yeah.
Where he's a former EOD guy, and I'm gonna give a shout out. What's his name? The brand of his company? He's got a coffee company.
Oh yeah. You were
the EOD guy, and he.
Jesus Christ. Yeah. Send a 9 line.
What it's like NBC
grunt style.
NBC somebody master some.
That guy or 6 out of Spring.
I gotta look at it.
They're great.
Good. Some of them. The problem with a lot of people have is some of them play the system of veterans and stuff.
Ben's declining, by the way. I can see his eyes; they're like closing more.
Well, they are, but
this guy's different.
His speech
I've met him several times. And they do tons of first responder stuff.
Yeah.
Like buku bucks back to them.
Yeah.
They're a little bitty small
First
shop.
of all, Ben's declining. Ben's
he's declining.
Waiting for the end of the fucking
There's
story.
a heavy D on the end of that.
You asked me from the beginning, so I'm trying to skip through it now.
No,
to the point. Yeah. Anyway, so I went to JSOC, and the thing is, I'm this lowly little E3 Air Force guy, and I have no idea what special operations is. And I'm sent to JSOC, which is hilarious. That's like the pinnacle of joint special operations.
Yeah, normally people work for like a decade, and then they get a JSOC.
Yeah. I was Air Force. I was in the Air Force.
But the crazy part is that he went to The crazier part for the Army people that will listen, hopefully they listen, the fucking JSOC thing, because he jumped to JSOC. People don't do that. They work in USASOC for like 5 years, and then you can get to it.
Yes.
So it's Army Command of Special Operations. JSOC is joint, so it's like Army, Marine, Navy. You obviously understand that. They have a crazy mission. They do the craziest stuff. It's an honor to work with them. To be selected. For the goddamn Seaburn cell or whatever you did.
I wasn't in Seaburn. I mean, I was in the Air Force. I was an intel analyst, and so I wouldn't even say selected. I was flung. I was flung there.
Hurdled.
But even to be an intel analyst for that is an honor. It
really was.
It's an honor. And you work with the greatest individuals and the most professional people in the United States military. Probably.
Yeah, I won't get into details too many. But
you can't talk about it too much.
But really, I will say is everything that Ben said is amazing. the professionalism, the expertise, the hardworking, the mindset. I was there when Stanley McChrystal was there. It was a phenomenal.
Oh,
It was a
yeah.
phenomenal time frame there.
Yeah, Lee Glover, I'll call you out again, you bitch. Hopefully somebody answers. Lee Glover, you better come on this podcast.
I don't know who Lee Glover is.
He was a mentor to me,
Okay.
and I worked with him.
All right, Lee, get on
He's
the
up there.
podcast.
He's in JSOC.
Oh yeah, he's the guy you're talking about before. Yeah, Lee. Fucking, I heard your name before and who you are. And
I just hope it reaches enough people.
The really cool
I just
shit
wanted
that you said to him before he went to his E5 board. Yeah.
I really want him to.
Come on, Lee Glover.
It's hard to get a hold of him.
Anyway, so yeah, I went there. I had no idea what this friggin' thing is.
Glover.
And so I'm this measly little Air Force kid. And I get flung to JSOC, and my eyes are open to the special operations world, and I get an immediate, soft boner, And I actually, while I was there, I was considering going, blue to green, from the Air Force to the Army.
Yeah.
But I actually ended up breaking my hand. I rolled my car on no fault of my own, not yanking my chain.
Brian gets it. Brian's making a jack off motion.
If only
right
you
now,
see
everybody.
the hand motion. His is
Brian's making a. I was trying to get the ice cream machine to
Brian's
work.
hand is mimicking his own, and he's going very small strokes. So it appears like he's. if I can see the video. Tonight. Anyway,
Brian's making. I was jacking off a smirk.
Smurf, you mean?
Smirk.
Oh, I thought you were jacking off a Smurf.
Smirk.
Jacking off a Smurf. Anyway. So I got this.
Jesus Christ.
It's all blue.
Why is there so much blue sperm everywhere?
So I got this massive special operations boner, and it changed my life forever. In all honesty, I got out.
Twice you said boner sit next to me.
I'll say it.
Wait, you can't see it or feel it. You can't see it or feel it.
Christ.
Boner. Anyway,
getting a little bit uncomfortable.
Good thing he's pinned next to the wall, and I'm a little bit bigger than he is. We'll see what happens.
I still have my shirt on.
Your gun's in the car. You were saying earlier. For now.
Still have my shirt on for now.
Get got a gun with me right now. All right. So yeah, just not to go. Yeah, right. You fail this assessment for control of the subject here, Ben. Anyway, so yeah, honestly, to go forward, I got out of the Air Force. I was attempting to go to the Air Force Academy. I actually had an appointment to the Air Force Prep School, but I had Air Force Academy Prep School. But it was a 10-month prep school. I would have to do plus 4 years. I was getting out at almost 20 years.
Oh wow.
21 years old. And I was already doing some sort of counterterrorism type,
so you're like fuck that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll figure it out.
And I didn't know what college really how to do college per se. And so I called a buddy of mine. He's like, hey, at the University of Montana, I decided to go back there because that's all I knew.
Right.
So I called him. He told me who to get a hold of. I called the college, and I was like, hey, I don't know what to do with my hands. And so they guided me through the process. I got accepted. I went there, and I just got out for about 6 months just to go to school.
Just go to school,
yeah. And a friend of mine had mentioned to me, this is where the fun stuff part comes in. So all the boring stuff that you had sifted through earlier, we talked about boners and whatever else. This is where the fun part
Where was the boring part?
I didn't say boring part, boners and stuff.
Boning part.
Anyway.
Either way.
So I get out. I go to University of Montana, and a good friend of mine, she's in the ROTC there, and so she says, hey, there's a program you can become a guard guy and an officer. I was like, oh, sweet. So I meet the commandant at the time. His name is Maxie Carpenter. He's a great man. He's a special forces retired special forces colonel, and now I'm not sure if he's right now the president of the Special Forces Association in Montana, or I think he's an officer. Okay. Anyway, he was a mentor to me there as well at first. I'm not sure if he remembers me at this point, but he helped me get into the program with the 190th Chemical Reconnaissance Detachment, which progressed my career within the Army, which I currently have right now.
Okay. I want to stop.
Stop.
I don't mean to fuck you.
Fuck me.
I'm going to do a part 2 with you after the chem part.
Okay.
What I want to do now is talk with you and Brian.
Okay.
About, so for those listening or those hopping in, I got Brian.
Brian Mike, the Fury, 107.6.
107.6, tune in. He, Brian has been like a father figure to me. it's been. I mean, Brian is. I don't know how to describe it other than that. Like he was like that for me. He is a what the who the fuck is that? When you were young. Yeah. That's awesome. He just showed me a picture of him on a bike with his daughter. Is badass.
A motorcycle, by the
But
way,
like,
not a bicycle.
But like Brian, when I was young, I remember Brian when I was young. Like I was like, I mean, after deer camp when I started coming, Brian was like a legend to me. He'd be like a man's man. I always hear about him. And then Jared, you know, from talking to you, you're this epitome of special forces. But you also, besides that, I don't care about it. Not as much as I don't care about it, but like talking to you, like as a person, you're a great person.
Thank you.
I want to talk to you. I want to take a break to get over the COVID. And then we're going to discuss some current stuff. I just want to get your guys' opinion on that. Okay? We'll talk soon. Hey guys, while we're on this break, I want to reach out. I know around this time of year, you know, it's getting cold. We got the holidays coming up, Halloween, Thanksgiving. You know what I get? It's hungry. I get those home-style foods going on. And what better way to crave that than Lake's Homestead Goods? Okay, it's actually ran by my wife, Danielle, runs it off her Facebook page, or you can reach out at 417-365-4993. She makes everything from homemade bread, whether it's cinnamon raisin and white bread, to butter, homemade butter, cookies, any type of thing you can think of. She's even working on other stuff right now. Reach out. She is the one to set you up with homemade products that are good and good for you. Thanks, guys. Bitches, we're back.
Back. He needs another flight.
Back again. Yingling flight.
We are not sponsored, but we do love it.
We do love it, and we're crushing this case. All right.
Sponsored by Jared, by the way.
It's way
You're
better
welcome.
than a regular
Round robin,
handling.
boys. We're trying to talk to Jared about his life, but it was taking too long, so him and Brian are gonna give us their inputs on life. Thank God.
That
Really
sounds
stuck to the
beautiful.
pop. All right, first topic. The problem is AI. Okay, AI taking over jobs. Taking over jobs, and actually like movies, anything like that, they're taking over. What is your solution / what is your fix to this / what is your recommendation if you want to keep this moving forward?
Yeah, I'll be quick with mine real quick. It's not too broad. I fall in line with. I remember watching the first Elon interview with Joe Rogan about this and how I forget the exact words he used, but he in so many words seemed to be fearful of AI in general, right, and of the capability of that. I'm not fearful of AI. I'm fearful of how. I'm not saying fearful. I'm apprehensive about how AI might be used. So there's some. I can see AI being amazingly used in the medical field. I can see it used in engineering, as my brother uses it for solving problems with, hey, here's this formula. Where's the gap? For that kind of stuff, right? Which is phenomenal. I don't think it should be unleashed in the world in that aspect. One thing I'm also not for people using it for completion of college papers. The reason why is, what are you learning now? Not that that's a different topic as far as like what college teaches you in general. I agree with that, but the whole purpose is that if you're using it to write a paper, what are you really learning? What are you really learning without researching, right? So the point of a paper in the university is not so much the paper, but it's the research and the intent of the knowledge of what you're gaining, right? Again, go away from the concept of professorship, whatever else. That's not the concept. So the solution would be, back into as far as media goes. I believe I have seen some amazing AI-driven digital media that is phenomenal. Have you heard of the Seinfeld episodes that is continuous?
I heard about it.
It's phenomenal, and the thing is, it continues with new content, right?
Yes.
I think that concept is good in a way, but I think there's the human element of surprise and thoughtfulship, whatever, that's not even a fucking word, thoughtfulness and production of content in general. is required. Just like I don't like to read a book on my phone. I know you listen to yours because you drive a lot. I'm not saying that's bad.
Yeah.
I like to hold a paper book in my hands.
I will say, regardless of listening to a book online or like on my car ride, I do find more solace in, God, why is it like that? I do find more solace in reading one.
Holding one in your hands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I love it. Like it's a great feeling. Yeah, continue.
Yeah. So that being said, that same concept kind of goes towards our media and our aspect that way. I I know we had all this media strike recently, right? Or whatever they call it, the strike or the walkout or
the SAG,
or the
SAG
stuff,
after.
You know, and it's about writers and not being paid as much.
Right.
I'm not sure the salaries. I'm not going to.
Well, you know what it's about, right?
I don't know the entire portion of it.
It's about AI.
Okay, so that makes sense. I know some of it was talked about salary as well for certain portions, but even then, again, I'm not getting into actor salary and what that kind of. That's not my point. My point is that getting to the realization of human interactions and characteristics and actual emotional output, not learned by what AI thinks should be the issue. Because you see TV now at perceiving.
But that's the whole problem.
Yeah, what's the problem?
That's the whole problem is that AI understands some of those emotions and lyrics. It doesn't understand them. People think that AI is like
it replicates is what it
they
sees.
They think AI is like a genius. And it's like no, it's reviewing models over and over again.
It's a repository
and then
of information
and then it makes
building.
it. Yeah,
it's a popularity.
Yeah,
right,
absolutely.
right.
Yeah,
and I think it's a problem because while it looks great to people, and a lot of people for some reason think that's like the greatest thing on earth, it's literally just like if I read 100 papers on Emilio Estevez, I would know Emilio Estevez pretty well, so I can tell you what he's probably going to say.
yeah. So the computing power of AI would be able to do that, is what it is.
Right.
But yeah, I agree. So my solutions to you would be to limit those things. So again, medical treatment, in stuff like engineering, those kind of areas that have some space
control,
to move,
control over,
but
but
not full reign.
Sub control over using it.
Yeah, like ChatGPT is limited. Like they have written code. Its limits to a large extent.
What do you got, Brian? Sorry, you've been old man on the bench.
Yeah, and I'm retard on this subject for the most part, but I think similar to what you're saying, and somewhat different. I think from an entertainment aspect, total fad.
Fad.
It is the 3D of the 80s. It will.
Ooh.
It will.
I mean,
okay.
it's
It
cool.
will
but-
be.
yeah.
It will be
Yeah.
very
agree with
cool
Yeah,
till
it's
they
cool.
realize
Yeah.
how hard it fails.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah, I agree. It's cool.
It's Jaws 3.
Why would it fail?
It's Jaws 3
Why would it fail?
because it's not what people want.
But Jaws 3D
It sucked.
was shit.
It was horrible.
There's some good shit coming out from
there,
AI.
there was some good shit coming out in 3D in the 80s, but
What the
as a-
fuck good came out
as
of
a whole,
3D?
oh dude, freaking
Dude.
what was the not Halloween? What's the one with the
Jaws 3D was ass.
Jason,
Friday the
and
13th?
Friday the 13th. 3D
There was
was
3D?
badass. Yeah.
I have to watch
So
it.
And
I agree.
there
with
was some good 3D stuff, but it has a limited exposure. People
Yeah.
are going to see what they see out of it, and they realize that it's just all BS,
Okay.
and we don't want to see it. Now, from a logical standpoint, like you're saying, medical, I think it has very good theoretical value,
you. Yeah.
but it's not flawless.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It
I
is
agree.
very much not flawless.
I agree.
It is, it's already been proven in its very minute infinity that we've used it, how flawed it can be.
Yeah.
Because it wants to tell you what you want to hear more than it wants to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
And that's because of who we are as a people. There's a
think-
lot to be said about
Yeah,
that.
I think
And
that,
we don't even want to get into
Yeah.
that, but AI is a product of its creator, which is the best answer is the best answer. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Not the right answer, but the best answer.
So the thing AI is looking for is not what is best for the world; it's what is best sounding. So
It's what
that's
you're
the
going to
problem.
believe
Yeah.
that it tells you.
That's fucked.
I want to go. I have a slight disagreement on the entertainment portion, not
Yeah.
from what I agree with, and so you and I both see that as I agree that I would perceive it as a failure. But if you look at the kids we deal with now, I say kids relatively, they're into that shit, dude. They're into everything digital, Minecraft, freaking what's the Facebook world, metaverse, and that is all digital. And I can see them.
But do your kids do that?
No, I have a.
Do your kids do that, Brian?
Never
My
seen
kids
it.
don't
Yeah,
do
My
that
kids
either.
have never
No,
So
seen
this is
it.
my problem.
Well, your kid's 6.
Okay, but your kid's
my kids are
13.
17.
My kid's 4.5.
Your kid, okay, but your oldest kid is what?
4.5.
What's your oldest kid, Brian?
20.
Okay.
Yeah, so the people that right now, the teenagers who are engulfed with digital everything, meta everything,
No.
gaming everything, I think are
I
going
think-
to embrace the AI entertainment
No,
portion of that.
I think it's too new for anyone to fully embrace, and I also think the what's it called, the AI shit. My brother-in-law, he has a Oculus thing.
What is
You
that?
know, Oculus. It's a VR thing.
Okay, the little things. With
Yeah,
your eyes.
that's what I mean. That's what kids are doing now. They're not
Yeah.
doing PS2 or
Yep.
PS3.
Yep.
I think
He's on the verge of the cliff.
It's the steps all over.
no, I'm good. I'm good. No, but what I think is that a lot of kids are like, most kids now they're not as like active, right? Most kids aren't, and if they are not, then they're looking for a way to be active in the virtual world.
That's my point. That's why they
But-
would embrace AI as an
No, I know,
entertainment
but what I'm
factor.
saying
Yeah.
is they're looking at these Oculus VR bullshits, right?
Mhm.
And the problem is,
Can I be the
yeah,
devil's advocate here?
yeah,
Don't want to weed out those kids.
that's what I'm saying. No,
Yeah,
Let-
I'm not saying no. But
let the
but
kids.
that's what
what
we're
I-
growing up with, though. That's,
What
that's
I'm
the
wondering,
reality.
what I'm wondering, right? What I'm wondering if these kids are like that, right? At a certain point, they're doing okay, right? They're taking over, they're doing the thing. I wonder how long is it before it affects the mass population?
It's affecting it right now.
Is it?
Yes, it's. I mean,
Yes.
massively right
And
now.
I would say even
Yeah.
more
heavily.
Why?
sub
The
US.
the suicide rate in young teens and young people is because of the digital realm. I'm not saying like it's like they're making.
But
it kill
that's not.
themselves.
But that's not because of Oculus. That's because of
No, I'm talking about the
Instagram,
the-
Facebook, all that shit.
Yeah, but that's all inclusive of the whole digital environment, bro.
And
Okay,
that-
okay.
and
Fair
that
enough,
is-
fair enough.
That is tenfold outside of the United States.
Absolutely.
What do you mean? In what
We
aspect?
we because we have a
I'm saying, are you saying it's like we're tenfold what they have,
yes.
or we're tenfold? Okay.
I'm
take it.
saying
Do you
the
want
reality in the United States
Thanks,
I
bitch.
got you.
versus much of the other rest of the world
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
Out of
Okay.
sync and out of
Okay.
touch.
Okay.
Well, I mean, we have two different perspectives in the United States. We have the urban perspective and we have the rural perspective. And I mean, take it as you will.
Those are doing those.
What
that
it
don't.
is, it is. You just said your kids aren't into it. Your kids aren't into it. My kids aren't into it because we live or we raise our kids in part of the United States that our kids prefer to be outside
Yeah.
and doing other things
Yeah.
than sitting. In
Yeah, I
front
get
of,
a lot of
sitting
weird
in front
looks
of
for
a
it.
fake
It's annoying.
reality, but there's great parts of the world that kids don't have any choice but to be in front of that alternate reality all the time.
I can't
And-
imagine that.
Yeah, I can.
I know it's hard to imagine in this country, but there's a
So you're saying
big
like
population.
you're saying like their kids aren't really able to play outside, or they say they are just
No.
can't. They're too busy or too
I mean,
whatever.
take most of Europe. They don't have what I mean. There's parts of it that do, but
Yeah.
there's it's 90-10 versus 50-50 in the United States.
Wow.
So
Do you agree with that or disagree?
I'm not sure the actual data for
Well,
that, to be honest.
I'm
But-
not sure that actual data, but I mean it's much more condensed city to non-city living.
Wow.
And I'm not saying city living's bad, but it's different from having other choices.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm an anomaly. We had this conversation earlier. I have have a TV in my house since 2006. I don't have a TV in my house. I don't have you go to my house and you're like, where's your TV? I just don't have that. If my kids want to watch TV, again, 4.5 and 3 years old, they're watching Dora or something like that, David
Right,
the Tiger.
right.
I pull up the laptop and they can watch in the show. They get 20 minutes at a time. And they put it out and they go play. I'm not going to hold my kids from technology. Technology is the way of the future, so I'm not going to keep them from that. But at this point, their stimulation needs to be in productive play.
Yeah.
Right? So
Majority
that
of
being
a physical activity.
absolutely. And that being said, it's also part of the social portion of that as well, is integration and creativity and imagination. So the AI portion of that is heavily affected right now. It's a part of the digital community, which is metaverse, whatever multimedia platform we're talking about. That's all connected, in the grand scheme of things. Which is what that's portraying a facade of what you want to be versus what you actually are, which is where kids live these days. Now, all my peers, all my friends have kids that are younger teenagers or right at that age, who are beginning that, or like between 9 and 10. My brother and sister-in-law, they have a TV, but the thing is their kids don't watch much TV. I told you my brother's an astronautical engineer. His wife was a Russian linguist, at NSA. And their kids don't have cell phones. Their oldest is 9 years old.
Okay.
She's 9 years old, but all her friends, all they do is play friggin' Fortnite and
Oh,
have cell
wow.
phones. And their kids, they're 9 years old. And they talk
Well,
about it.
you say all this stuff, and I always feel like, sometimes I feel really proud of my kids because they're so physical, so outdoors, and then other times, Jamie and Bo are attached to it. They want to watch Power Rangers all night.
Well, that depends on the consistency and context. Like
Right,
your wife is managing four freaking children.
Yeah.
Under 6 and under.
Yeah.
So a wife needs a break every now and then to put. My wife's the same way.
Oh.
If she needs to occupy a child, I get that. I'm not even there because I travel so much. Right, which I'm here right now, obviously.
Right.
So that the difference is it consistent? Is it constant? And what's the intention of that? If the
I
intention
would say
is
it's
to release that,
consistent, but not constant.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that's fine. Consistent means that there's times your wife needs that break, so she does it. Constant would imply something completely different.
Oh, okay.
So,
But they're watching Power Rangers, not
yeah, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. That's ridiculous. dude.
not something completely.
Yeah, I mean, Jamie watches
completely
like Wild Kratts,
unempowering.
so it's cool.
Yeah.
What do you mean, like unempowering? What do you think kids watch? Do you think boys watch that shit? Do you think dads are allowing that?
Absolutely.
They are allowing that.
Yes.
I haven't seen that.
My
in,
dad
in
never
my
allowed it.
in my experience, I haven't seen it yet.
But
What are we looking at?
We live in a different part of the country than
Correct.
a lot
Yeah.
of the country.
Correct.
I agree.
Yeah.
Around my neighborhood, we don't see that.
Yep.
But it is happening
Mm-hmm.
all over the country.
Yeah.
It's depressing. I wish I knew what was being shown to the kids.
You
'Cause, like,
can,
I like-
you can know. You just monitor your own shit.
No, not my kids. I know what my
I'll
kids
tell
are
you- I'll
being
tell you
shown.
I mean,
Prime
parents in general
one.
should be able to monitor it, but they just
My
don't care.
when my kids were little, and this is probably earlier than your guys's, but
Yeah.
Teletubbies. Absolutely.
no,
Yeah.
never.
Absolutely.
You could look at it and know it's freaking.
Not my
No.
kids. I know
And-
what
and-
it was.
and-
was
and
more
here's,
Brett.
here's my wife's defense of that. First time my kids watch it, Teletubby people, I don't even know what they are. But
Teletubbies.
what they spill a bunch of shit on the
They're
floor.
an alien, dude. They
a
spill
bu-
goose.
They spill a bunch of shit on the floor.
Yeah.
And they have this robot vacuum that just comes out. and
It
cleans
comes
up.
They
sweeps
don't
it
do
all
it
up.
themselves.
My wife says, "Oh hell no,
Uh-huh.
hell no!
Yep.
That is not what
They're
we're teaching
training
our
blowjobs
kids.
here.
They're weird. Not teaching our kids they can just drop shit on the floor and some
Robot.
magical figure comes and cleans it up. She's like,
That's
we're
a
never,
Roomba, dude.
we're
Come
never
on."
watching that. We have a Roomba, but that is not what it's for. And it's just that little stuff like that just empowers.
Kids that think like something else is gonna be done for them. I guess.
It empowers like
That's
what is that
problem,
word?
yeah.
I don't want to say like
Enables.
yeah. I mean just disenables.
Yeah.
I guess that would be a good word for it. It enables you to be a freaking loser. And
My mom used to say,
not what you
I
want
say, Mom, can we get a
anything.
dishwasher? She's like, why would I get a dishwasher? I have 4 already.
Oh, yeah.
By the way, I just noticed
Exactly.
how rich Ben is. He's wearing Carhartt. I'm not sure if you knew that or not.
Dude, you have no idea how much guilt I felt buying this goddamn hoodie.
$80 probably.
It was 55. 55, and I told Danielle, I go,
I haven't
I
seen him wear
want
nothing but a whoopee in like
I know.
3 years.
Yeah, Brian knows. So
It's
like,
nice though. They're nice.
dude, I took this and I literally went to Danielle and I go, I want to take it back. She's like, Ben, it's a nice hoodie. Just take it. I'm like, Danielle, $60. Like, who pays $60 for a goddamn hoodie?
A good hoodie, you do.
No, but my Whoopi hoodie is solid. I'm gonna use it tomorrow, and I'll put it under this.
Okay, we can talk about AI. What's your next question?
Yo.
AE,
No.
you.
No, because I only got about time for one more question.
Where are we going? I'm just curious.
Where are we going? We're going to bed. So I gotta wake up in about 6 hours.
Yeah, so it's fillet knife.
The fillet knife is fucked. No, I had a question. So let's say you're, what was it? I wanted to ask the one they talked about at the board. Hey, Brian, you have a worker. You have a couple workers under you, right?
Yes.
Okay. One of them is transitioning. And
From what?
a male to female. And you're going to have them, you got to go on a trip. You got to live in a hotel. Like a little bedroom like this. It's 2 per bedroom. And, you got to put them in there, and you guys are complaining about it. They're like, I don't want to stay with no fucking tranny. And, they're like that. What do you do? Jared, go first.
So I'll go.
No, you got it,
yeah.
Brian?
I got
Keep in mind, this was a question that was asked
This was asked at a board.
on a leadership award board for the United States Army.
Yeah. This was asked
which
to identify a leader in the United States Army.
so
I can't stand that.
my gut reaction from a business perspective says you deal with your productive employees first, whichever way that is.
Okay.
And that's probably 100% incorrect, but that's reality.
Yeah.
And from a business perspective, from a political perspective, completely different. My personal value of that is just like if you're doing drugs, I don't want to know about it. And that's
Okay.
that's terrible, probably from a political
No,
perspective.
you know what? It's better than
But-
there's better than some shit I've heard, dude.
But the reality of that is, like, that is not my fucking problem.
Yeah.
You deal with that
Because you're an employee or you're an employer.
You're an employee.
And you're an employer.
Deal with it.
Yeah.
So I actually,
Jared, what do you got?
Jared,
what do you got?
I want to identify the point you made about the productive employee because that removes the aspect that removes the aspect of the individual and their quote unquote identity.
Yes.
What that looks like because you're putting a value on productivity versus that identification.
I like that
In
a lot.
the real world, that's the way it works.
Which
hate
I
I love it.
I can get behind for sure.
Good or
Yeah.
bad, that's
Because
the way
what does
it
that say?
works.
That means if you have a woman or a man or whatever they want to freaking call an alien, if the alien's freaking productive, you talk to that person first.
Absolutely.
And and typically that individual is usually high performing anyway, so they're getting different rewards, different whatever that looks like. You and I talked about this earlier on the military side. Ben, you and I said, the first thing is we have this process called DEERS, which I forget what DEERS stands for. But DEERS basically, do you know what it stands for?
Yeah, it's defense eligibility enrollment something system.
There'd be an R in there. Probably.
The R is something in there. But
No,
it's
I know. I said
DEE. I know, I
defense
mentioned the R.
eligibility enrollment. Something system. I really can't remember the R.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Anyway, but the bottom line is military. There's no identity of anything besides male and female. Is if you're transitioning. This is for those listening. The military's stance is, if you're a member who wants to go to the opposite sex, the military identifies two, male and female. If you're a male, you want to be a female, you have to abide by all male regulations until while you're under the care of a physician, until your transition is complete, and then Deere says you are the opposite, that you're a female.
One or the other.
You're one or the other. And then if that's the case, there's no question. Whatever Deere says you are is you are, which can be a problem. And I brought to Ben as well is that, my wife serves in the U.S. Air Force and Special Operations as well. And if she's in a deployed environment and God forbid there's a situation where I don't want to put my wife to be uncomfortable, and say there's an individual there who, oh yeah, by the way, just as a note, the military does not require that individual to have any surgeries. It's hormonal and psychological, purely psychological and hormonal. I'm about 98% sure on that. That being said, that means if a male transitions to female and doesn't want to get his junk cut off, he doesn't have to do that. So he's still got a freaking twig and berries between his legs. And so if
tomorrow can change his mind.
Absolutely. And so, well, not technically in the Army, because there has to be a process in physician, but yeah, it's essentially yes. If they have to be housed somewhere, my wife is there. I married my wife for a reason. I didn't marry her to look at other dicks other than mine, and I know she's not doing that, and she shouldn't have to be forced to be looking at somebody else. Not that she's looking down, but if she's sharing quarters with somebody else who has those parts, that shouldn't be something that she has to be subjected to, So what Ben and I talked about is you discuss with individuals in the area, first of all, if someone's willing to accept someone like that, because the situation was you have someone transitioning, that to be roomed with somebody who does not wish to have the person who's uncomfortable with that individual, with whatever sex or gender they're trying to move over to, and what do you do? So we talked about that. You first find someone who is okay with that. If they're okay with that, problem solved. If they're not okay with that, you have to respect the other person who they're putting them in their room as well as being uncomfortable, not just a person who's transitioning. There's two sides of that story. So it might end up being that you give that person their own room, and you're not being discriminative because you have to look at all the sides. You can't just force someone else to be uncomfortable because they're not uncomfortable. The other person is, so that's kind of where it's at.
I mean,
I
I look at that as much of a First Amendment right to the fact that, and I'm going to say this once and be done with it, but you have the right to whatever you believe.
Absolutely.
Until it
infringes
it
somebody
violates
else's.
my rights.
Absolutely.
And then it's a completely different
Yeah,
story.
and that's what you're talking about. Like, if you find someone who's okay with it, that's cool. If not,
Right.
you can't force someone in there because now you're infringing on their rights and on their uncomfortability. So I agree with that 100%.
I don't have to be okay with that.
Yeah.
Because
You don't have to be okay with
Absolutely.
anything, Brian.
Yeah.
Brian,
Yeah.
I'm not okay. I'm not okay with some soldiers.
But,
I'm
but
not okay
I'm
with
not
some
saying
soldiers
that,
doing
I'm not saying I
random
have
shit.
a problem with that.
No, I know,
I'm
but
just saying that your choices are your choices
Yeah.
until they
Good point.
violate my rights.
No matter how arbitrary.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Guys,
I believe that wholeheartedly across the board, not just with this subject. I mean, that's free speech as free speech.
Absolutely.
It just you can say anything you want.
I may not like it, but you get it's your free speech.
No, it's not even that. You can say anything you want, but you can't make me have to listen to
Absolutely. Yeah, and that's my point. Like, I may not like
you.
it.
I don't even have to listen to you.
Yeah. I may not like it, but it doesn't
It's
matter.
just
That's your right
That's
to say
the
that.
reality.
Absolutely.
You
Yeah.
can talk till
Here's-
your
hey,
fucking voice
Absolutely.
here's
runs
how
out,
we're gonna end
and I
it.
don't have to listen to you.
Here's how we're gonna end it.
Our First Amendment right not to listen anymore.
Hombre dice
No, I have-
peligroso.
I have a timer now.
Hombre
I have a
se
timer.
quieto.
I know where I want to end it. Brian, who are we running for the Republican card and the Democratic card this next election? Who do you think's winning?
Who are we running or who are they think's winning?
Who's running?
I think it's going to be Trump on the
Yeah.
Republican side, and on the Democrat side, I honestly think it's probably going to be DeSantis.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Wait. He's a Republican.
Or who? Newsom.
No, you mean the Como?
Newsom.
Newsom. Oh, really? Okay.
California, Newsom.
Who do you think, Jared?
I think the news would point to the same.
Yeah?
Yeah. I'm not saying it definitively, but I think what he's saying, the news would point, if you look at polls and whatever else and what things are saying, I think that would be the case.
I got a couple. If you had to vote for Trump or RFK, who would it be?
I'm not going to answer the question.
Okay.
Trump.
Give my current position.
Trump. RFK is the same old.
Are you fucking kidding me?
RFK says, I think he sounds really good for a lot of what he says, and I agree with a lot of what he says, but I still think he's a Kennedy.
Kennedys are good.
Well, they were killed for a reason.
JFK was good, dude. God damn it, Brian.
Sorry, I'm sitting
and
next
we're
to,
off the
I'm
air,
sitting
guys.
Next to
It
a
was
Secret
great
Service
listening.
agent.
It was great listening to you guys. No, for real. Jared, we're gonna have you back on again. I'll get a phone call or I'll come visit you. Some shit. We'll get it. Brian, this was a surprise, honestly, but I'm glad this happened.
I only used the F word like
the
once.
Fury, 107.6.
Yeah, the Fury, 107.6.
I swear to God, I only
Not a
used
real
it.
station,
Pretty
but
sure I
try
only
to
used the
tune
F
in.
word once.
Well, I heard cunt and gay
I did not
5
say,
times, so.
He said retard a couple
Yeah,
times.
I heard.
So.
Well, retard's a very medical term.
Anyway,
To
good
retard
night,
means
guys.
To slow.
Guys,
You were very slow
thank
tonight,
you so much.
Ben.
We'll see ya.
We appreciate you. We love you. Good night.
Guys, to end off this podcast, I just wanted to point out two of the coolest people. While they're not sponsors, they are people that what they're doing is near and dear to my heart, okay? First off, I want to talk about the bus stop, which was ran by Eric's wife, Kendall, okay? It's called the Bus Stop, and they sell coffee and gathered goods, okay? Which means she's culminating a whole lot of things, such as I've seen stickers to mugs to wicker baskets to T-shirts to a whole lot of stuff that's really like not only kitschy, but it's cool and it's good gifts. It's those kind of things, you know, as a family you go looking for on the weekends, and you're like, that's a cool little spot. Not to mention they made it entirely out of a bus. Go check it out. You're going to love it, okay? Their hours are from on Thursday through Sunday, it's 7 to 3, and then on Monday, it's 5:30 to noon. All right, let's just talk about some of their drinks they got going. They got the white pumpkin. They got the bonfire. It's my favorite. The bonfire was amazing with what I had. They got the deer hunter, which is for these badasses around here. They got caramel apple, the nutty squirrel, the whipped vanilla chai, and a sweet leaf, as well as just regular drip coffee, which they are excellent at, and other espressos and frappes, which everybody's going to love. A whole lot of options. Get out there, get you some good coffee, try it out, okay? The next one I want to talk about is Fifth Element Tattoo. Okay, this is what, while we didn't dive into it this episode with Eric, this is his baby that he's been running actually for a couple years now. So the experience they have there, by not only by him, but one of the people he taught, Jenna, and then their new person, Jennifer, okay? All their pieces, if you look on the Facebook, they are amazing. Okay, I can't wait to go get one myself there, hopefully. It is by appointment only, okay? So if you go on their Facebook, you can literally see the link. It books right with them. It works right off a schedule. Reach out to them. Get you something going. It's not that bad, all right? But these people are actually injecting a new economy into Marys County, which I think is outstanding, okay? Thank you guys for your support, and take care.